So this is the afternoon base. Now we're in the middle of apotropos, the halachas of a guardian. What do we call him yesterday? Administrator, executor, executor. He executes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So continuing, starts with some stories over here. We did one story yesterday. Let's do it again. We had two stories yesterday, and we got till the two dots, but maybe just to get back into it. That good? Okay, so the story with Rebbe Meir. What does it start over here? Who apotropos? The Shivavu said Rav Meir, there was a guardian who was in the neighborhood of Rav Meir. He was selling land of the Yisomim and buying a building, which we said before that you're not allowed to. We said before that Shema Gamliel, even the opposite also is asa because you don't know what's going to happen with the land. But you're surely not allowed to sell land and buy a building. It's not a good deal for the Yisomim. And Rav Meir stopped him. Rav Meir didn't allow him to do that. They showed him from a dream in Shemaim. They showed him that from heaven they want to destroy. It means they are orchestrated to let this apotropos who's doing bad to be in the position to sell the Solomon's property. And it's his bechira, he gets punished for it. But Hashem orchestrated that he should be there because Hashem does want to ruin the Solomon for whatever reason, because they were wicked or because the father was wicked, whatever the case would be. So the dream was telling him that he should allow the apotropos to go on doing wrongly. Made them listen to the dream. That you can't. Doesn't make a difference what the dream says. You don't do anything because of the dream, not better, not worse. So we just asked yesterday that that would be much, but if the dream would be reliable, you would go against halacha. So first there was a question, and Abnisan said, yeah, if they're telling you from heaven to do, it's like a rasha, and the same way that the Novi would do against halacha, not as a permanent thing. You're not allowed to change any halacha permanently. Hashem said it's not going to be changed permanently, but temporarily as a rasha emergency measure, it could be. So maybe that'll be the pshat that they would listen. That he would have listened to him, but he said, but to the dream. But he said dreams are not reliable. And another story, usually it's quoted by husband and wife, but it doesn't seem to say that. Here it says, Hanu betray, the agree, the who Satan, the whole Beshimshia will come into Adiyadadi. There were two people that the Satan was inciting them that every year of Shabbos they would always fight. So the quote, it's always quoted as husband and wife, but I don't see it. This is the only place in Shas it seems. And it says betray. Betray means two people. That doesn't sound like husband and wife, but it applies to husband and wife also. But that wasn't the case. Yeah. Rav Meir came to that place. It sounds like he. In one chutzner. It doesn't say one house. I don't know. What does it say? I don't think it means that. So here it says that. What is that? Dr. Pine, did you say anything?
No.
Okay. Rav Meir came there. It sounds like he came intentionally, heard about it, and he held him back for 3 Erev Shabbos, Beis Shimshi, and the Shmoshes of Erev Shabbos. He stayed around 3 times until they made peace. Avad Lahu, he made peace for them. I guess because of his presence, they didn't fight. That's enough reason. That's just the Bida doesn't have to say anything. He's just there, so everybody's best behavior. Shamei Tika Amar by Dafke Rav Meir Lahugar Rami Beisei, and he heard the Satan saying, "Woe to that Rav Meir took out that man." That man means the Satan. The Satan was saying that, "Woe, that Rav Meir got me out of my house." What does it mean in his house? That he was there making trouble for them, and he was feeling comfortable. So Avrohom says Beisei means his house. That means that was his house. The house where the two people were. If it means literally one house, and then it'll be that they were roommates or they were whatever the case would have been. If not, it means from his comfortable abode. It doesn't have to mean dafka. It could have been they were in the same chutzner, not necessarily dafka, but we'll leave it. Whatever the case was. Yeah. The point is that Erev Shabbos ben Hashmoshes, it's a time of machas. It's a time of tension because you have to get finished, and Shabbos is coming, so it's time of tension, and therefore it's more prone to pressure. So what do? You get Rav Meir to come for 3 weeks, and so the point is going to be that I think that people could do it themselves also if they just realize if a mayor would be here, how would they? Uh, Victor Miller. Victor Miller has a strategy. He says us put a camera on, put a video camera. Everybody's at the best behavior. Not gonna show it to anybody, Dafka, but if he's being filmed, he's gonna take it out. Ayin Roa, Ozen Shamas. So if a person wants to be at his best behavior, so put up a camera and it'll be a beautiful, beautiful Friday. Then they can watch the film together. He just has it over the Gemara with Erev Shabbos pressure. Who up to yesterday up to the Tudas? So up to the Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Some guardian was in the neighborhood of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. He was selling land and buying oxen. And according to what we learned so far, you're not allowed to do that because oxen are not as stable as land. We possibly not then that even land you're not allowed to sell for even land because you don't know if something's going to happen to it. Maybe it's going to get wind blown. The one that you bought. Maybe it's going to be over when people will come and say that it was a stolen property. But the more here is going that you are allowed to, and usually, but you wouldn't be allowed to sell land for oxen. Oxen are more valuable; they can die. But it didn't stop him. Maybe Shubal Levi didn't stop him. Why? So look, Rabbi Yossi. He holds like Rabbi Yossi. He holds that ox is the same as land, or it's the essence of the land, like he says here. The Tanya Amar Rabbi Yossi, Kamisi Leishti Ishti Lashori Shori, and Leishti Basi Lashori. So the famous Gemara that he didn't call his wife. His wife he didn't call the shore. He called his wife his house because she is the essence of the house. She's the home. She takes care of the home, and he gave her a compliment by calling her his home. And he didn't call his ox. He called his ox's field because the field is as good as the ox's. Yes. Shori Sadi. So that means plural. Sadi, my field. Sadi, my field. So the essence of the field depends on the ox. So I don't understand the Gemara because still after everything, it's called a field, but it's a kind of a field that could die. A regular field doesn't die, and made out of earth, and the field made out of the bones and the flesh and the blood of the ox. So that's good. So it's not as stable as the land. That's the kasha. That it's true. I mean, I don't understand. The Gemara says that he called that the essence of the. He is praising the shore. He is. He is. I'm asking that the Gemara says the reason why you're not allowed to sell one thing for another on the Yisomim's account is because it could be that they're going to lose out. So definitely a shore is not as stable as a piece of land. So I don't understand how the Gemara says just because it's the value of the field depends on the shore. You could buy another shore later on also, but you know, the field will go on. But shore that's more viable. I don't understand how Rabbi Yossi says that that's the reason why you're allowed to sell it. I got. That's what we're talking about. We know there's not a value, but the question is that he's making an investment which is not as. That's the question. Just because it's so valuable to a field, but the horror is still not as stable. Okay, fine. Just to point out that some people they quote this Gemara, they misquote it. They say Ishti Basi, and you have some people that they consider it a prum kind of some sort, not to say my wife, but to say my house. My shtub, but the Gemara's not talking about that. The Gemara's talking about that he gave a compliment to his wife that she is the essence of the home. It's a compliment, not because he didn't want to say his wife. He said his house. That's not the point of the Gemara. They say my home, any of they call like that, my shtub. But that's not what the Gemara means. The Gemara doesn't mean that he doesn't want to say. Okay, if that's what they mean, is good. Next story. I think that's not the point. I think they consider it a sneers, not to say my wife. But I don't think that's not what the Gemara is talking about. Just to point out also in Aramaic, the Gemara says two terms for wife. One is itza. Anybody that knows Aramaic, itza, aleph yud tough, right? And one of them would be is like ishto. And the other one is devisu. When it wants to say wife, it says devisu. Two words in Aramaic. So I think that ishto and beso. I think devisu is going to be like beso. Aleph beis yud tough. How much the word advice is over there? I didn't see anybody say that, but it sounds like very similar to ishti besi. No, not at all. A new story. Anu Yasvi, that we're going back to the Mishnah. The point of the Mishnah says on top of the page that Apotropos has the authority, and the Mishnah on top of the page said that even if he wasn't given exact authority by the Bezdin or by the father of the Yisomim, but just that they happen to be living by somebody, someone's taking care of them. So he automatically gets the authority, just to see that on top of the page. That was the top line there. You saw some place of Balabayas, top line of the page. Rashi tells us right away that even though it was not appointed, because Lamai says she's the acting apotropos. So they get the authority even if they were not appointed. I think one now reads a story about that issue. Where are we? Hanu Yasmi. The last line of the word is Hanu. Yasmi, first word on the line. Hanu Yasmi, there were Yisomim that were relying on a certain old woman. The word Safta nowadays they call a grandmother, but it doesn't mean a grandmother, it means a Zakena. So it was an old lady that was taking care of the Yisomim, and there was no official appointment. Havalahu Torta, they had an ox, and she sold it for their parnasa. Shakla Vizavinta Nahalayu. She took the ox and she sold it for them. It means they needed food and other expenses, so she sold the ox in order to fund whatever they needed. Also, Krovim Lakamed of Nachman, the relatives of the Yisomim came to Rav Nachman. Amulei, Maya Virita, what business is she selling it? Who's she? She's selling the ox of the Yisomim. Amalahu, so he said, that's the Mishnah. Yisomim is someplace of Alabaistan. The Mishnah says that if the Yisomim are eating, relying, they're living by somebody, so then he gets a different apotropos, even if he wasn't appointed. So she's right, she becomes apotropos, even if there was no official appointment. She was taking care of them. They moved in, they ate by her, whatever it was. She was taking care of the relatives weren't taking care of. She was taking care of. So she becomes apotropos, and she has the right to sell their property for their expenses. So they had a problem that the ox got more expensive after the sale. So she did a bad deal. She sold it, and after the sale, the price went up. They would like that the sale shouldn't be valid in order that they should have the expensive, they can sell it now. So
that doesn't value. It seems to be a combination wasn't foreseen. No, they didn't say anything. They don't say anything.
Not following. They had a time that she sold it, and he said she had a right to sell it. They said that we'll see the story continuing, but you don't talk about active heaven. You talk about if they're responsible or not. Is it a sale? Was the sale a good sale or not? You also ask him that the guy, you're not going to say if someone's doesn't make them intention or not. You don't say it's active heaven. The question is if there's the validity over here, right? That's everything's
what's gonna be.
You're saying the question is if the fair sale was a closed sale already. We'll see two more. I think one or two lines you'll be happy. So the question was that they wanted that they said that the price went up. So the question they wanted that the sale should not be valid, and therefore they still have the expensive shore. So he told them, like what can you do? It already belongs to the buyer, and it got more expensive. He's the one who got the gain. So the sale was a sale. But they said, they didn't get the money yet. It means that the buyer took the shore, but he owes the money. He didn't pay the money yet. So usually the din is Mashiach. There's a din called Mashiach that when you take it in a regular setting, there might be a din Makesef, maybe with the Raisa Mos Konos. That's a question of the Daraisa. Does the money make the sale, make the transaction valid, or is it the Mashiach? So by regular people, you have we're going to see right away that everything depends on the Mashiach. When you took it, even if you didn't pay the money, that's the close of the transaction. If the price goes up, goes down, everything depends when the Mashiach was. Before the Mashiach, it still belongs to the seller, if there was a payment of money or not. And after the Mashiach, it belongs to the buyer, even if there was money or not. So they said that there was no money. So in a regular case, the money wouldn't make a difference. A regular hedyot, everything depends on the Mashiach. And if he took them, if the buyer took it, it's his. And if the price went up, he gets the gain. But here, they said that maybe it's different because they didn't get the money. And he said, you're right. Amalahu, so Nachman said, this is the halacha that Rav Chanidloi Baridi in the name of Shmuel said. What did he say? That we give them the not the benefit, we give them the rights, the same rights as Hekdesh. Hekdesh does go with money. Even though by regular hedyot, the regular layman, everything depends on the Mashiach when you make the physical transaction of the transfer of the item. But by Hekdesh, the money is also a kinyan. Money, the transaction of the money, the transfer of the money also makes a kinyan. In this case, if Hekdesh would have sold something, but the money didn't get the money yet, even though the buyer took the item, and then the price went up. Hector says that the deal's not over yet because we didn't get the money, so it's still ours. They have to pay the expensive price. So here he's saying that Yisomim have the same benefit as Hektish. Yisomim Harei Hen Hektish. That the transaction is only finished with the money. We're going to see soon. They're going to get both benefits. What? That's going to be the next Gemara's question. It wasn't talking about that. So far, it says the price went up. No, they didn't hear all the information. Now they told him that they didn't. First, they said that she sold it. Okay, she sold it. So now they said, but you didn't get the money yet. Someone didn't get the money. So he said, then you're right. If you didn't get the money, so then they still own it. The Nechse Yisomim was like Hektish, and the kinyan happens with the money. And since the money wasn't transferred, it still belongs to them. And the price went up, so they get the gain. And the buyer has to give the rest of the money in order to buy it. Right. The Gemara says a similar story. The wine. Chamre is the wine. Sometimes it means a chamor, a donkey. Sometimes it means wine. So the wine of Ravana Ukva the Yosam. So it seems that when he grew up, he was called Ravana Ukma, or Ravana sounds like Rabbi, maybe not. Whatever it was, when he was a Yosam. Some changed the gears and say means his Yisomim. Whatever the case was, there was a Yosam or Yisomim. What's his name? It could be a title, or it could be that it's his name. If it's a title, so then it became a title when he grew up. But at this point, he was only a Yosam. He wasn't, he was a little kid. So he wasn't yet called Ravana Ukva. So if Ravana means a title, that means that eventually he got the title. Right now he was a kid. Or it means that he died and his Yisomim, and he changed the gears a little bit. But anyway, there was a case that also they sold something, Mashchua, Barba, that the buyers made a Mashicha at the price of $4 a barrel. And after the Mashicha, but now the money wasn't transferred yet, only the schora, the merchandise was transferred to the buyer, but the buyer didn't give the money yet, and then it became more expensive. It became $6 a barrel. So the same thing we just said before, that since they get the benefit of Hektish and the money wasn't transferred yet, so then it still belongs to them, and they're owed the expensive price. Also, like a Rav Nachman, same person. And Rav Nachman said what he just said before. That they get the same benefit as Hektish, that till they get the money, if the price goes up, it still belongs to them. Right, someone get the same schos as Hektish. I don't know. It could be that they could. Could be that they could. Could be if you say. Could be. That's what we're talking about. That doesn't make a difference. They didn't get the money. So until they get the money. So we're not saying anybody did wrong. Yeah. So but there's always one stage of the money and one stage of the transfer of the item. So by regular person or hedyot, it all depends on the Mashicha, the physical transfer of the schora, of the merchandise, and by Hektish, it seems that it also is going to be the money. We'll see in a second that it's not only the money, it's both. And either one, whichever is the benefit of Hektish. And so far it says that Yisomim also get the benefit that since the money wasn't received yet by them, so it still belongs to them. As the price goes up, they get the benefit of it. Now the Gemara is going to go through all the 8 possible cases, just to give what's it called? To zoom out a second. There's a question of Kinyan Mashicha and Kinyan Kesef. Well, those are the 2 possibilities. If the money was transferred or the schora was transferred. And there's when you're selling, when you're buying. The Yisomim are sometimes the seller, sometimes they're the buyer. And there's also the price going up and the price going down. So you take all these 3 factors, you're going to get 8 cases, I think. So we're going to talk about when do we give the Yisomim the Kinyan Mashicha, when do we give them the Kinyan Kesef. So far we said one case, that if they were selling and the buyer did Mashicha and the price went up, the Yisomim have the benefit that they didn't do Kesef yet. So they can. And now the Gemara is going to start all over again. We did only one case so far. We're starting again with that first case. If you wanted to underline if I'd be able to highlight it, I would make a different color scheme over here, but I don't have that. Moshe Perin Miyasmi, if people, the buyer pulled, he did Mashicha of the schora, the peri, from the Yisomim. So the Yisomim are selling, and there's somebody buying, and he did Mashicha, but didn't give money yet. And a yakor, and the price got expensive. That's the case we just talked about. That somebody did Mashicha and the price went up. So that's what he just finished saying. That's what we just finished saying. Said in the name of Shmuel that Yisomim say that we didn't get the money yet, so it's still ours. Next case, Chaim David's question. Zol, same scenario that they did Mashiach, but then the price went down. And the buyer,
If the law is the same law.
yeah, so the buyer says, oh, very nice that you're saying that I didn't get it yet. If I didn't get it yet, the price is cheaper. So I want to pay a cheaper price. So that's what the Gemara. The head is not going to be better off than hektish. Here, the Gemara seems a hektish also. Not only Yisomim, but it seems hektish both of them that they get both gains. And just like by the hediot, if there would have been Mashiach, the deal's over. If the price goes down, the buyer doesn't get that benefit. The buyer still has to pay. Doesn't get his change back. He doesn't not to change back. He has to pay the expensive price, even though right now the market value went down. So hektish is the same. It means they gain if the price goes up and they say we didn't get the money yet, so it's still lost. But if it goes down, they said the Mashiach was already, and it's already yours, then you have to pay the expensive price, and the Yisomim get the same benefit as them. Next case. The opposite case, the Yisomim are buying. The Yisomim are buying. Till now, the Yisomim were selling, now the Yisomim are buying. And they made Mashiach on the Schora, but they didn't give money yet. And the price went up. People, they gave Yisomim to do Mashiach. That means that there's somebody selling Schora, some merchandise, and the Yisomim did Mashiach, and now the price went up. And the Yisomim would like to say that the deal's done already, because we did Mashiach on the cheap price, and now that it went up, but it's ours already because of Mashiach. So that's true. You don't say they only have kesef. If they only have kesef, then they would be on the downside. They would say that they would have to pay the expensive price because they didn't buy it yet. But no, they don't lose out by being hektish. Hektish doesn't lose out. So the Mashiach is enough that it belongs to them, and even though the price went up, they don't have to pay more because they got it already. How about the opposite? That price went down. So what happened? They did Mashiach, the Yisomim did Mashiach, and then the price went down. They'd like to say that they didn't give them money yet, so it doesn't belong to them, and they want to get the cheaper price now, even though they did Mashiach, but they say, but we're Yisomim, we're like hektish. We get the benefits of hektish, and if the price went down, we want to say that we didn't buy it yet. Yisomim are buying, they did Mashiach, they didn't give them money yet, and the price went down. And they want to say that we want to get the cheaper price because we didn't give money yet. So we would think so. So if the price went down, so people thought, the best medrash, they thought that this is the that they get the benefit, that they go kinyan kesef, and they didn't give them money, the price went down, so they want to say that we didn't buy it yet. Rav Shisha Beit. This is Rav Shisha Beit Davidi, a new personality that came in. Before it was Chaniloi Bar Idi. It's Rav Idi. It doesn't seem to be a brother because the other one was the son of Idi. This is the son of Rav Idi. So it doesn't seem to be a brother, but he said that that's not for their benefit. We want to give them benefit. It was not going to be for their benefit. It's true, in this particular case, they'll get benefit that they'll say that we didn't give the money yet, and therefore the price went down, and we want to give the price. In this particular case, they're going to gain. But the larger picture, it's not for their gain. Oh, Rohi. This is detrimental to the Yisomim because there's in the Mitzlachi Leperi. But like the Yav, if everybody knows that the Yisomim always win, so they're not going to want to do business with them. Sometimes they're going to need schora, they need food, and they don't have any money. They want to put it on credit. So the storekeeper's not going to want to give them on credit because what's going to happen? You did Mashiach, and you didn't. If the price is going to go up, then you want to, what do we say again? But if the price goes down, you're going to say that they didn't give money yet, so you want to pay this cheaper price. I don't want to do business with you. Give me the money. So I'm not going to make the deal until you give me the money. So therefore, it's not for their benefit. Right? Yeah. So for this, it's on a big picture, on the small picture, on the how you say tzvach katzai. If you look at the short term, so then it would be beneficial to say in this particular case that they'll gain and the price went down, they gained from it. But on the big picture, they're going to lose out because people are not going to want to give them on credit. So they didn't get the benefit of the Kinyan Kesef over here. Next case, 3 lines up from the bottom. Yavis, Yasmi. Now, so we talked about Mashiach. We talked about Mashiach without Kesef all the 4 ways. He is someone buying and selling up and down. And now we're going to talk about the money, just money without Mashiach. And we're also going to do all 4 cases. Yavis, Yasmi, Zuzi, Aperi. The Yisomim are buying, and they gave the money, but they didn't do Mashiach yet. They gave money, but they didn't do Mashiach. They want to buy something, they paid for it, but they didn't do Mashiach. And what happened? Zol. What happened? They paid for something, and if you say that the money is Kona and then the price went down, so then they are going to lose from that. But they say, no, we're like anybody, Mashiach, we didn't do Mashiach yet. If they were going to say they don't lose out by being hektish, they're going to be the same as anybody else. And since there was no Mashiach, so then they paid a cheaper price. They also gave money, and then the price went down. So they say, give us back the change. We didn't do Mashiach yet. What if it went up? So what are we going to say? Regular person, if you just gave kesef and the price goes up, you have to give more money because you didn't do Mashiach. And they want to say, well, we're better because we're hektish. Since we gave money, we want a chaparine that we got it already, even though the price went up. So again, so the Besmedrish people thought that this is Rav Chaniloi Baridi's din, that we give them the source of hektish, and it's already a closed deal. Again, if Shisha Bravidi said on the big picture, it's detrimental to them. Why is that? That's the Gemara's expression when it wants to say that if the seller has the merchandise and it already belongs to the buyer. Kinyan Kesef. Kinyan Mashiach means that he comes and takes it. He takes the merchandise in his truck, he takes it home. But if you have only Kinyan Kesef, that means that the buyer gave money to the seller, but the merchandise is still by the seller's warehouse. So that's not a good situation, that the seller has somebody else's merchandise in his house because he doesn't take such responsibility for it. The words literally mean that he's going to say, your wheat was burnt in my attic. It means it's good that a person should have responsibility. The person who it belongs to should have responsibility. Because if you say that the kesef is kona, if you're going to say that the belongs to the buyer, that's giving money already, and it's still in the rishus of the seller. So if there's going to be a danger, he's not going to go all out to make sure that the fire department comes on time, and he's not going to be most nefesh. Not most nefesh, he doesn't have to kill himself, but he's not going to try hard to get to save the merchandise because it's not his. Because it's not his. So therefore, okay, whatever. So here it's not good that the Yisomim should have a kinyan kesef when they're buying. What did they do? They bought, they gave the money, but they didn't take it yet. And we want to say that they should have the ability to say that we made a kinyan kesef already. If the price goes up, it's already ours. So we don't want to do that because then it's going to be in their rishus if there's going to be a fire or something, so they're going to lose out. Rashi and Tais asked the kasha that we should look at each case if it's to their benefit. We see we're juggling around. If it's for their benefit, yes. If it's for them, so here, if the price goes up, so we'll say that it's yours. But if it gets burnt, we'll say that it's not yours. How come the Gemara doesn't do that? That's a kasha that has to be asked. Rashi and Tais talk about it. I don't understand the answer well. Here, what? They bought it if what? They bought it if
with money, but they didn't do Mashiach.
They bought it with money and they didn't do Mashiach.
Right.
Because you want to get them. We're talking about a sale. The question is when the sale takes effect. Is it the Mashiach or the Kesef? The Gemara is talking about that they have the benefit of the Mashiach. The Gemara wanted to give them the benefit of the Kesef also, that if the price goes up, they say that it's a closed deal. But we say no, because if you say that, then it's still going to be in the rishus of the Yisomim in case it gets burned. And that's not good for the Yisomim in case it gets burned. And Rashi's question is, Rashi, that if it gets burnt, then we should say that's in the rishus of the seller. That's what we're doing when it gets more expensive or cheaper. We say depends for whose benefit it's for. Here the Gemara says that goes here Rashi says that these two things go together. As far as being backing out on the deal and this it has to go together. So if they have the right to back out on the deal, that's true. If the saying that they're kona and they will not back out of the deal, so then it's going to be in their rishus also as far as strafe. If there's going to be a fire, so they're going to lose also. Okay, let's leave it at that. The Gemara second line continues more cases. The other way, that people they're selling, they some are selling, and the buyer gave money but didn't do mashicha yet. So what we say usually till this mashicha, so it's in the rishus of the Yisomim. But over here, there was a kesef, a yakir, it got more expensive. Well, what happens if it gets more expensive? The Yisomim would like to say that we didn't get it yet, and that's the same as a regular hedio, the regular layman also. That's the halacha that if he didn't get the money, the price goes up. He's allowed to say, if he didn't get if the merchandise wasn't taken, even though he got the money, if it got more expensive, the buyer says, tell me, because you didn't get it yet, it's still mine. You didn't make mashicha. Hektish are not going to be less than hektish is not less than the hediot, and therefore, since by a hediot, the seller says I didn't sell it yet because you didn't make mashicha. So too, you saw him have the same right to say that you didn't make mashicha yet, and therefore we want a higher price. How about Zol? Yahu Zuzi liyasmi a peri. People, the buyer, they gave money to the Yisomim, but they didn't take the Paris yet. And then the price went up. Somebody wanted the Yisomim had something for sale, and the people gave money, but they didn't take it, and the price went up, and the Yisomim want a bigger price. So we say that they're not worse than Hediot. The Hediot, that would be the din, that if somebody paid you, but the price went up, you say that you didn't take it yet. You're selling a bicycle, and they gave money for it, and then the price went up. So you say, it didn't make Mashiach yet, the price is higher. How about it Zol? How about if the price went down? So by regular Hediot, that will be the din. If there will be all the Jotos, everything's Mashiach, and he didn't do Mashiach yet, so the buyer says, I'm going to give the cheap price. I didn't do Mashiach yet. And we want to say maybe, again, but now, maybe I'm getting mixed up. I'm not thinking what I'm saying. Again, the Yisomim was selling, and they only got the money, and the person didn't take the schora yet, and the price went down. So the Yisomim would like to say that we're hektish, we're special, because since we got money, so by us, money, regular person, you're right, that you didn't give money yet, so the price went down, you gain. But you didn't do Mashiach, but we're special, and by us, Kinyan Kesef works also, our benefit. So people thought that here we're going to kick in Rav Chaniloi by Ridi's halacha, and they're going to say that that's a deal already. You gave money, it's a deal, and then now the price went down. That's your problem. For the third time, this is a detrimental. This is bad for them to say that. Sometimes they want to sell something, they need money, and then no one's going to agree to give them money for their sale until they get the Paris also, because they're only going to lose. So we didn't give them the takan over here. So it comes out of all the 8 cases, it's only one case that's different. This is how to sum up the whole Gemara. There are 8 cases, Mashicha or money from the Yisomim giving or buying or selling, and the price is going up, price going down. There's only one case. The first case of the Gemara is the only exception that Yisomim are different than that they're different. They have kesef. They have kesef also if the buyer did Mashicha and then the price went up. A stranger. The Yisomim are selling. And the buyer did Mashicha, but he didn't give money yet, and the price went up. So by regular hediot, the deal's over, and the buyer gains. Here, the Yisomim say that he didn't give us money yet, so it's still ours, and we get the gain of the higher price. Like the case of that Safta over there, that they sold the shore, but there was no kesef. This is the only case where there's no. What's going to be? What are people going to say? Here, there's no chash that it's bad for the Yisomim. What's going to be that the people are going to not do Mashiach and leave that space in between. They'll pay money right away. Very good. Pay money right away. That doesn't bother us. If they're going to pay the Yisomim right away, it's even better for the Yisomim. But the other cases that the Yisomim lose, either they're not going to get a good deal to get credit, or they're not going to be able to get money if they need them to selling something. What's going to be that they're not going to be able to, here, that's the case over here. They're not going to get money until they give the merchandise also. But so it's only 1 out of 8 cases. So the Chiddush of Chanileh Berid is only the one case that we started with, and everything else does not apply. Gemara. I don't know how it comes in exactly. It's related, but it's not mamish. Not mamish topic. Amar Rav Ashi. I know Rav Kana Chasmina Nashtor. The image is the Ira Yasma. It's pretty hot. Is everybody that's of the Ira, the Yasam, her husband died, and she had a Yasam who owned the property, who owned the Yerusha, and she sold part of the estate of the Yasam. She was the apotropos. The mother was the apotropos for her son, and it was Avna'ara Lakaga V'Loach Rasta. She sold land for taxes, means there was a tax charge against the Yasam, and they had to pay it. And she sold the karka without a chrasta. So this is a new subject. We didn't talk about this yet, and it's going to be relative to what we spoke about before. A chrasta, karka is a tax. A chrasta means an announcement, like a cruise. A cruise is an announcement. So the halacha is that sometimes when you sell somebody's property, you want to get a good price. So you make an auction for a couple of days, for 30 days, 60 days. You make an auction in order to make sure you're getting a good price. So if you sell without an auction, so then you're not making the most of it. Maybe you'll get a better price. So the chiddush is that she sold it without waiting, without announcing it, without making an auction, and they didn't get the full price, the best price that they could. And Rav Ashi and Rav Kana, they were signed on that star, and Rav Ashi said, yes, we signed on it. Why? Even though there was no akvasta. Nardoi say that's for tax, or for food, or for burial. You sell without making the auction. That means it's an emergency. At the case of mazonos, for sure, that's the get us. Our main issue till now was mazonos, that you sell the nechasim's property for getting them food. So do you have to make an achroza? Do you have to announce if it's an auction for 60 days or not? So it says, no, you don't have to. And the chiddush, and also kavura, if someone has to be buried, you're not going to start making an auction. No time. And also and also karga. Karga means what? Karga means a tax. The officials, the government officials, they don't have time. They don't have time they need the money right away. If not, there's going to be repercussions. So therefore, that she was right. The mother who was selling the property without akras is right, because these 3 things are emergencies, and he sold without akras. It comes in the chiddush about karga also, about the taxes. But the main point was also about the mazonos, that from mazonos you don't have to make an auction in order to get a good price. They need the mazonos right away. New story. Amram Sabo. Sabo sounds like a painter. I think 60 days. Sometimes there's a 30 days or 60 days. Sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 60. I forgot the details about how you make an auction. These need the food right. Yeah, you can't wait, so we sell it right away. Nugumar. Amram Sabo. Apotropos, the story. Amram the painter was an apotropos for the Yisomim. They were Yisomim, and he was the apotropos. Doesn't say how became the apotropos. Doesn't say. Also, Krobim Makamed Rav Nachman and the relatives of the Yisomim, they came to Rav Nachman to complain about the apotropos. He's not a good apotropos. Amilei Kalav and he asked me. He takes the Yisomim's money and he buys clothing for himself. What's he doing? Taking money from himself for himself. He's buying clothing and coverings. Whatever the coverings would mean, some kind of they have different kinds of clothing. Some are called malbus, some are called lachas. He was taking money from them and buying clothing for himself. Amalahu, that's okay. He has to be dignified. He goes to do business for them for his job. He has to go do business. He's going to go to do business for the Yisomim, so he has to go with a suit and a briefcase. But he goes to do business. He has to look distinguished. So it's for the benefit. It's for the benefit of the assomim that he should look distinguished. He goes into an office. He comes with a briefcase. They look at him. Oh, he's a somebody. That it should be heard. His words should be heard. In order that his words, miles, his words, nisham, that he should be influential. It's benefit for the in a case where it's beneficial for the assomim. He's doing business with him. Very nice. That's what it says over there. Good. So the next, but they had more problems. Now the next word mididu, they take out the word mididu, as we'll see in a second. This word doesn't belong there. Most Rishonim. He's eating and drinking very expensive food, and he's not rich. So where's he getting the money from? Here they didn't. The first case they knew taking from the Yisomim, and he said that's okay because he has to be distinguished looking. But that, which hurt? He's not rich. So you want to know, where does the word amid have anything to do with rich? Very nice. Rashi says that's Pshat. Rashi says that. Rashi wants to know what the word amid means. So the idea of the Gemara is that he can't afford it. But Rashi says that the amid maybe has to do with measuring, that the way we assess him, it doesn't have how much money he makes from painting is not enough that he should be able to eat this kind of steak and all kind of fancy food and drink. So the other Pshat Rashi says the word amid means rich because rich people are assessed. How much is he worth? You talk about rich people, how much is he worth? How much is he worth? But the poor people, you don't talk about how much he's worth. So Rashi says maybe that's the reason why amid means rich.
Why?
Aleph Mem Yud Dalet. I think that. So I think that they use the word in Hebrew today also. That a person who's rich, they call him amid. I think that in Hebrew, not modern Hebrew, they use it also. So they had a complaint. Yeah, they didn't know he's taking the money from the Yisomim, but they just knew that he's eating more than his salary. So he said that's not a problem. Maybe he found the Mitzvah. Maybe he won the lottery. I don't know. You have to prove it. If you want to prove that he's eating from them, but the dress. So usually is a blind down the cost. It means if you have a complaint, prove it. You have Moshe Mechabel Varaya, like you have to prove that he's stealing. The first case, they knew that he's taking money from the Yisomim, and he said he's entitled because he has to look distinguished. But he doesn't have to eat steak in order to do business for them. Maybe wine and dine if there will be some. If he takes out the business associate, if he takes out, maybe he does to take off taxes also. That's also a business expense. But it wasn't the case. He was eating at home quietly with the steak and the wine. So he said, I don't know. You have to prove that he's stealing it. Just because he's eating it doesn't necessarily mean that he's stealing. Maybe he has more money. You don't know about. Welcome, Mapsi. This is now third Kataina that he's not taking care of the Yisomim, of the Nechasim. He's lax. He's negligent. Rashi says maybe he's even destructive. Yeah, he's destructive. He's either passively or actively. He wasn't taking care of the Nechasim. I said, if that's true, if you bring Adam that he's negligent, so then I'm going to remove him from being the apotropos. Yes, Rav Nachman. Rav Huna, because our friend Rav Huna says, Mishmei the Rav, apotropos the mapsed b'shalkin. If the apotropos is negligent and he's ruining the estate, so you remove him. And there's machlokas about that. Ditma apotropos the mapsed Rav Huna Rav, like we just said, Rav Huna the name of Rav said, b'shalkin, you remove him from his position. The Be'er of Shila Amri lo b'shalkin. You don't remove him. How could you not remove him? If he's being negligent, how do you not remove him? It could be that the point is that you'll demand that he has to pay for it, he has to swear, he has to pay. But I don't know. I didn't find who says, how come Rav Shila says you don't remove him? But we pass him like Rav, the Hilchasam Salkinale, you do remove him.
We haven't seen a lot of
The clothing, he said that he's right. Not the kapsulos. It means that he's doing the right thing. He's doing the right thing. The second thing I've said, you have to prove that he's stealing. If you prove that he's stealing, then also he would. But right, that you have to prove that if you prove it. But otherwise, I don't know that he can't afford it. Which word? We took out that word.
We take it out.
Yeah.
Why?
because it means that he's eating from them. And that's not the point. If he's eating from them, then he would say for sure he can't. The question was he was eating, and we don't know where he's eating from. So they assumed it's from him, and because he can't afford it. And he said, you don't know that. That's because he doesn't have so much money. Maybe he has more money than you think. Maybe he has a Messiah. You want the lottery. You don't know what happened. Next case. Your imagination is as good as mine. I said maybe that you're just going to make him pay, but you're not going to remove him. But I don't know that maybe it's a one-time thing. It doesn't sound like it a little bit. It sounds like he was mafsid. It doesn't sound like a mafsid. They had a complaint against him. Yeah, that's no. You can get somebody. Rashi says, "Any mafarnis hakakos karoi because it's ilano." So it doesn't sound like it was a one-time thing. It's nothing. At least he's a constant. So I don't know. We pass that you do remove him. New story. So back to the Mishnah again. The Mishnah had a focus. We're going further. The Tikkun Olam. Mishnah says the first thing was about that he's allowed to be maser. He has to tithe for them whatever they need for food, even though it's not his. The Rishonim explained that to a maf hefka bezin hefka, and he should be maser whatever they have to eat. And we went on to a tangent all about Hilchos Apotropos. And now the next part of the Tikkun Olam was that he swears, but the Apotropos has to swear when he finishes his job. And someone grew up, he's leaving his position, he has to swear that he wasn't, that he didn't steal. Taish talks about, what does he swear? So Taish talks about, he swears that he didn't steal. They talk about, does he also swear that he wasn't negligent? That's a question. What does he swear? But there's a question about swearing. And we'd like all Apotropos to swear that they didn't steal over the time that they were in position. But it says in the Mishnah, there's a difference if it was appointed by Bezin or appointed by the father, the late father. And Machlokes, Tanakama says that if the father had appointed him, so then he does swear. If Bezin appointed him, he does not. And Abba Shal said the opposite. And we were looking for reasons. We didn't say reasons yet. And now we're up to the Gemara. The Gemara is going to say the reasons for all the different opinions. Right? No. That's what the Gemara is going to talk about. Who needs the headache over here? That's going to be the Gemara. So that's what the Gemara talks about. If he gets paid, maybe the different halachas over here. But here it says my timer. Why does Tanakama say that if he's appointed by the father, we do make him swear? It comes out to everyone. We'd like to make everybody swear, but we have to be lenient sometimes and not swear. So that's what I was going to say. My timer. How come there's no problem in making the Apotropos swear if he was appointed by the father? You love the Isla Anomi, they have a Apotropos. How come he's willing to be Apotropos? It's a big headache. Why is he willing to be Apotropos? It must be that he owes the father a big favor. The father did something for him and he owes him back. So if that's the reason why he's doing it, yes, of course, I talk to the father. Even if you make a shvur, he's not going to stop. He owes the father a favor, and he's not going to hesitate to become Apotropos because they're going to make him swear because he has so much akoros to hold back. He's not going to hold back from being Apotropos because you're going to make him swear. But we knew Bezdin lo yishava. But if Bezdin appointed him, then we don't make him swear. Why? Because Milsa Balmudav in Lebeidin, he's doing Bezdin a favor. He doesn't know the father anything. The father didn't appoint him. Bezdin's asking him, could you please be an Apotropos? So he's doing them a favor. But if you make it too difficult for him, he's not going to. If you're going to throw a shvur on him, so then he's not going to, Bezdin's not going to be able to find anybody. They're going to say, we don't want to make a shvur. So I'm doing you a favor. You want me to make a shvur also? Now we want to make a shvur because we want to make sure he's doing a good job, but you can't. So therefore, we make a tikkun olam. Probably that's what the Mishnah means, tikkun olam, that he doesn't have to swear. That's also true. But what? They look into him, he's an honest guy, but he's not going to accept it. He doesn't need a shvur. Yeah, the father also is probably going to give the job to somebody that he trusts. But over there, the question is, the Gemara says, the Tanakama says he's not going to back out from the job because he has to swear because he owes the father so much. But he thinks it's his jurisdiction. He thinks that that's his choice. There's no. First of all, doesn't say it's because of a loan. Doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. But even if it is a loan, it's not ribbis only if you're obligated to do something back then. If you do it stam without any obligation, you're not doing it out of obligation. You're not mechuyav. You're just doing it. That's not called ribbis. Only if you do it. Only if it's a kind of an and maybe I'm saying wrong. If you don't know, I'm not sure.
It's a certain time factor.
I don't know about all this. But we'll get to Bob Mitzvah one day. But it's all about ribbis. We'll learn more. But this issue has not ribbis. Nothing to do with ribbis. He doesn't know him anything. But he doesn't owe him mitzad ribbis. It's not. He owes him a favor because he's not him. He's good to him. He's good to him. Nothing to do with loaning. It doesn't say about loans. If it's loans, then yeah, ribbis problems will get there. I don't think so. Abu Shal says the opposite. Abu Shalom Mechil of Hadvam. Abu Shalom Mishnah said the opposite. That if a Bezin appointed him, he does swear. And if the father appointed him, he does not swear. So he's going to say a different psychology. My timer, Minu Bezdin Yishava. No, but it doesn't make a difference. You can look back on the recordings. But first you explained Tanakama, and then we told you Abu Shal said. Then we told you Abu Shal said the opposite, and he said, "Okay, I give up." Now everything's recorded. Appointed. My timer. Minu Bezdin. What does Abu Shal? Minu Bezdin Yishava because Bahiyana the Kanafik Alei Kola the Inish Mehemnahu the Hasama Halei Beidina Shimshua Lasilim Nui that he has a benefit. When Bezdin appoints him, when someone's appointed that was by Bezdin, he has a benefit that he gets a name. But Bezdin trusts him. He was appointed by Bezdin, so that's a benefit to people. People like that. He should get a good name. That people, maybe it's worth, it's worth it for him. That Bezdin, people know that he's a trustworthy guy. So with the Hana, that it goes out on him a good name, that he's a trustworthy man because Bezdin trusts him. He's not going to back out because they're going to make him a shvur. Because he's getting something out of it. Before the first time, the Gemara said he's only doing Bezdin a favor because he's not giving. But here it's not. It's a favor which is worth money to him because he's going to get a good name. So even if you make him do a shvur, he's not going to hold back. Agav just point out that the good name that Bezdin trusts him is only if he makes a shvur. But that's also worth something. That's also worth something. That he makes a shvua and that doesn't trust his shvua, that's also a trustworthy man. So he's not going to hold back if he has to make a shvua, so there's no reason to stop. Not by the father, but by the father, why? They owe each other favors, fine. But the Ramas shvua, but the Karas Hatov is not going to be enough that he's going to, that arguing in psychology. The whole Machlokes is psychology of people, and Avrohom's going to ask that each person is different, and there's some like this, some like that. So how could you make such a standard that this is the halach of everybody? I don't know the answer, like always. And it means they're doing a word. It means like a favor. The same way the Gemara says a favor, but a favor. So, right. The first Gemara said that he did something to him, and he owes him back. He's of course a tov, and he's going to do that even at the expense of making a shvua. The Gemara says no, they owe each other favors, fine, but he's not going to do it if he has to make a shvua. So you look at it two different ways. On one hand, you can look at it if the person is doing it mitzad the mechuyavut, that or he's doing it because of his gain. Tanakama looks at his mechuyavut. He has a koros hatov. He doesn't have a koros hatov, and he looks at how much I gaining from it. Abu Shal looks at that. People look at their personal gain that he gains from Bezdin appointing him. So then he's going to do a shvua. But for the father, he doesn't. He might have a koros hatov to him, but he's not getting anything.
But he's not going to steal.
That's how most people are. That at least now the people don't. The shvua is very serious by people, and they look at it like that. And it could be that by Losis Hashem Hashav it says like it's Saser Sadibros, and it says that there's no mechila on it, and it's very serious. That the whole world that says was mizdas there when Hashem said Losisa. What is that? That's the type of people you see when you make them swear. That's the whole thing about shvua, that if he's not ready to swear. A person like Abu Shal, that it goes with the gain and by because he wants the good name. But if the father appointed him, he owes him something. But okay, not for a shvua. and he's not gonna feel obligated if he has to make a shul. And the Gemara pass like that, pass like Abu Shol. First white line, right? The Bezin points out. Tanya, but let's Yaakov. Now the question was if he's getting paid. That's not in the subject of it. I'm not talking about getting paid. If he's getting paid, that's not a subject. I don't know what the answer is. Yeah, everyone here seems to talk about if he's getting it for free, he's doing it them with a favor, or he owes the father a favor. That's be worth it. Sure. But we're not talking about Kos Hatov or getting a good name, but those are those. It's a could be. Could be.
Yeah, it must take something very well. I mix it, yeah, the amount that you take.
I don't think the lawyer is one of the lawyer. The lawyer makes sure that everybody does what he's supposed to do. But there's an executor. The lawyer is help as executor.
Foundations, that's
So.
Your point, an executor.
The lawyer asked us to.
Yeah, it's better to know. Why would it's better to he doesn't know.
First wide line. Tanya, Avrohom Yaakov Omer, Zev Zei Shava. Halacha Kidvarov. This is a brisa. First wide line that he's the third in the new shita that everyone swears. Both the Mishnah didn't have the Mishnah had two opinions, either Dafka Minu Aviyasomim or Dafka Bezdin, and he's a third shita that the Mishnah doesn't have. That both of them swear. Avrohom Yaakov, and the brisa says Halacha Kidvarov. The brisa says we pass like him. But we said one line. Yes, and the one line before. So that's not a problem because the Shmuel passes against the Brisa. Shmuel passes like the Mishnah Abishol. But the Brisa sometimes says who the Allah is like, and there's a cloud. You don't listen to the Allah that it says in the Brisa. When the like who? Not following. Whole sentence. The Brisa says that Allah is like Abu Lezer ben Yaakov. And one line up, right? No, because one line before it said Shmuel said Allah is like Abu Shol. So I just said that whenever it says in the Brisa or Mishnah Allah is like somebody, you don't. That doesn't mean necessarily that Allah. You listen to the Avrohom who say Allah. You don't listen to the Mishnah or Brisa who say what Allah is. So we don't pass like Abu Lezer ben Yaakov. We pass like Abu Shol. Just to point out that yesterday we had one line in the middle of the whole sugya that said we weren't sure what it means, but yesterday I just scrolled back a second. Here it says. So it talks about making a cheshbon with the purpose after everything's over, after the whole business is over. So you make a cheshbon, which sounds like, does he make him swear? Do you make him give a report? And Rav Shimon Gamliel says you don't. So that sounds a little bit like not swearing. So I don't know. Maybe a cheshbon means maybe it's different. Maybe the Gemara may format the cheshbon. Give us a written doch, as they say. Then the cheshbon and everything you did. Or swear. So I don't know, but that's pointing out that we had the mission that says Minu Bezdin, Minu Abiyasomim, Machokas, which one? Rav Elazar ben Yaakov says both, and here the Gemara says you make a cheshbon or you don't make a cheshbon. So I'm just pointing out this Gemara. I don't know how to make everything synchronized. But to finish off the Gemara today, we're in the second wide line. First wide line. Tani Rav Tachlifa bar Marava kamed Rabbo. Rav Tachlifa bar Marava said over a brisa to Rabbo. Here goes the brisa. If the Petropos was appointed by the father, like this sounds like the Tanakama, he does swear, but he says that's what the Tanakama says by Yas. He says the reason is because he's getting paid. So it doesn't say what we said before. We said it has to do because he owes a favor. Here it says because he's getting paid. Amalei. So Rabbi Avo said to this person, ISIS Kaba are you paying him? Who's paying him? Yeah, it sounds like not getting paid. Are you paying him? So the word literally means, are you going to bring a cob? A cob is an amount, a bushel, whatever, and you're going to measure out to him? You're going to measure out to him? Who's paying him? Who says he's getting paid? Say so. You have to put in the chaf. The way it says the price, he's getting paid. He's not getting paid. It's as if he's getting paid. And that's how we said before. Why is it as if he's getting paid? Because he must have been a favor that he owes the father. So it's like he's, and this explanation of what we said before, that since he has, he's indebted to the father for some favor that he did, so he is going to, he's going to be the apotropos, even if it's going to cost him a shua. Even if he's going to have to swear. No payment, no payment, no payment, no payment. No payment. We change the words. It doesn't mean he gets paid. It means his like is getting paid. Why is like is getting paid? Because he owes a favor. So we pass it up. The person like Abishal, he doesn't swear because for a favor, for his indebtment, he's not gonna. He's so indebted to swear. The person like Abishal, not like the Tanakh. This was only explaining the Tanakh. A little bit further, as our custom became. We're still at 2-3 that with 3.5 everybody. I'm a Tameh, new tikkun olam, new sugya, new planet, everything new. The tikkun olam. I'm a Tameh, I'm a nasech v'shogeg poter b'meizel chayil. If somebody is b'tameh somebody else's truma, kachim, he takes a sheretz, or chulin maybe, he makes a tameh, makes somebody else's thing tameh. He had Torah food, and he made a tameh. So he damaged him. Or medameya, that he took. That's what the Gemara is going to talk about. Hezek Shem Nikah, that you don't, the Mishnah doesn't say what the secret is over here, but doesn't give away the secret. That it's Hezek Shem Nikah. That sometimes suspend, sometimes no suspend. So he made somebody else's thing, he ruined it because he made it tummy. If it's Trumas, Mamish ruined. If it's Chulin, it's not Mamish ruined, but it's the Chulin less valuable. So he ruined, he damaged somebody. Or medameya, that he mixed Truma and Chulin. Means somebody had Chulin and I mixed in Truma into his Chulin. So now it became less valuable because only Kohen could eat it. When the Torah, so the value goes down very much. So I damaged him. And I'm a Nasech. That means something about Yain Nesach, that Yain Nesach is also Banah. Made somebody else's wine Yain Nesach. So it made it also Banah. I devalued it. So all these things are Nesach. No, Tavod Zara. Like Yain Nesach means Avodah Zarah. The libations to Avodah Zarah. He ruined the whole thing. Yes, but the question is the secret of Hesed Shein Nikah means that whatever damage it is, you look at it, it looks like fine wine, looks like a nice bottle of wine. You don't see it, it's not noticeable. The case of Truma, all them, the common denominator, you don't see anything, it looks fine. Truma, and Yain Nesach, you don't see anything. So it says that you have to pay. If you did it by accident, unintentional, b'shogeg, poter. But if you did it by mezid, then it's chayiv. And that's something to do with tikkun olam. Let's see. So the Gemara is going to talk about it right now. How did he make Jew? If it's a goy, then yes, we don't talk about how could a Jew do avodah zarah? We have Jews doing avodah zarah. Lev Yaakov wants to know how did he do that? How did he make it Yain Nesach? I tried to word it in a way he made it Yain Nesach. So I was very between the drops. But he made so yeah. Lev Yaakov wants to go on the page. How did he make it Yain Nesach? He didn't know that you're not allowed to do avodah zarah. Or he didn't know that it's somebody else. He didn't. Who's a guy? He's not a guy, he's a Jew. Let's get to the Gemara, Itmar. This is really I'm talking about our Mishnah. What does it mean in the Mishnah Manasseh? The third word in the Mishnah, Manasseh. What is it talking about? He made libation. How do you make libation? Rav says he actually libated. He took the wine of somebody else and he poured it out to Avodah Zarah. But on the way to kill him, you tell him he has to pay. That's the question. That's the question. That's the everybody got it. Everybody jumped on. Shmuel says it's not the case. He took Yain Nesach, pre Yain Nesach, already Yain Nesach, and he mixed it with somebody else's wine. He didn't do any avodah zarah. He took. Maybe he didn't know, maybe he didn't know. Shogeg, Mezer, it's possible that he took real Yain Nesach, that he had bottle of Yain Nesach. How did it come in Yain Nesach? Somebody did Avodah Zarah. That's something else. And he has a bottle of Yain, and he poured it into somebody else's wine. So now the good wine became mixed with the Yain Nesach wine. The whole thing becomes Asa. So two ways out of the Mishnah. Did he actually libate the Avodah Zarah, or did he mix in Yain Nesach into somebody else's wine? That one wants to know, why is each one not say the other one? Why does Rav say Rav doesn't like both pshatim sound good? What's wrong with any pshat? So the Gemara is going to explain why Rav does not like Shmuel, Shmuel does not like Rav. Mandama ma'are, my time alama manaseh. Shmuel is one who says ma'are. Why does he not like Rav's pshat that he actually poured the wine to Avodah Zarah? Amalacham manaseh come with Ravine. It's not going to be chayv even if it did it amazing, because there's a concept called come with Ravine. What's that? That if somebody did an act which makes himself chayv misa and simultaneously makes him chayv money, he's not chayiv for the money because he's chayiv misa with that same act. Standard example would be if somebody shoots a bullet and he killed somebody, but it also made a hole in his suit. So the Yoshim, besides he's chayiv misa for killing, but he damaged. So does he have to pay for the money? So there's a concept called kamei b'davmin that if one act incurred upon him two penalties, a monetary penalty and a capital penalty, so he doesn't pay, he only gets the bigger punishment. So if he would have actually been menaseh that Avodah Zarah, he's chayiv misa for that act, so he's not going to be chayiv to pay, even if he did it b'mezid. That's why Shmuel didn't want to accept Rav's pshat. What does Rav hold? Rav said it is menaseh. What happened to come with Rav minay? The idach. What does Rav do with that? That is a split. It doesn't happen simultaneously because the chiyuv for the money happened at the time they picked it up. He picked it up in order to be menaseh. That's when he's chayiv the money already. But he's not chayiv for misa for doing Avodah Zarah until he actually pours it. Why is it? Yes, but it was one act. He did one act. He did one act. He did one act. What do you want to say? That he's chayiv for the money as soon as it tore the thing, but he's not chayiv for the misa until it kills him. Let's say it wouldn't be. Let's say it would be. There was a space, or it was a space between the not a suit. There was a piece of clothing, a piece of material hanging on the drying on the line, and he shot somebody that went 10 meters till he shot him. So you're going to say that he's chayiv with money, and then I think it has to do with the act, the fact that it's. But maybe it's a good question. I'm not saying it's not a good question. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's what the Gemara says that the word from the time that he picked it up, he acquired. Yes, he's picking up in order to libate. From the time he picks it up, he already acquires it as far as his obligation to pay for it. But he's not chayiv misa with the kana. That Rashi said, yeah, kana. That's when he acquires. What does he mean acquires? He acquires it, then now he's acquired chayiv to pay for it. But he's not chayiv misa, but chayiv benafsho. Right. So Rashi says the time they picked it up in order to steal it, which that's a problem to me. I didn't get clarity yet. I'm going to stop here. I don't know how to go further. That is he chayiv for stealing it or is he chayiv for damaging it? If you talk about chayiv for stealing, it has nothing to do with Hesed. We're worried about that he's damaged. I don't know how did he damage? How did he damage this wine? Comma. There's the period. That he's from the time he picked it up, that's when he acquires it. But he's not chayiv misa until he pours it. So we're talking about when is he chayiv the money? When does he incur the monetary punishment that he has to pay for it? So it says from the time he picks it up. Why? He didn't pour it yet. He didn't damage it yet. He picked it up and then he poured. So by the bullet, he did one act. He pulled the trigger, and that's why he's chayiv. That's why you say come with the because one act incurred him two penalties. So he only gets the bigger penalty. But over here there were two things. First he picked it up and then he poured. So picking up is chayiv to pay for it. So that's the problem. So Rashi says that he picked it up in order to steal it, and then he's not chayiv misa for doing alibation until he pours. I don't understand that because we're not telling he's chayiv now for stealing. We're telling he's chayiv for ezek shein nikah. He's not chayiv for stealing. So he didn't pour it yet. So why is he chayiv for picking it up? So I'm stuck over here. To be continued. A little bit suspense. What? He could return it. He has to. So he said, pay money instead of returning it. If you're chayiv for stealing, it has nothing to do with if it's you can't use this for a payment. You could use it for a payment. It doesn't have to do with hezek shein nikah. The shogeg b'mezid. You stole. If you stole, is it called that he's stealing over here? So I'm really I shouldn't have gone so far, but that's got to the bottom of the page. That he did a b'shogeg, he doesn't know you're not allowed to do a lot or something like that. Or he didn't know, I don't know if it means if he doesn't know that somebody else is. In order to be Manasseh. In order to be, Manasseh means libation. So I think that it has to do with shaking it or something. He has to shake it, has to make some movement of it. I'm not sure. So you think that the Gemara says that picking it up alone is not enough to make a dinus. I don't know. I'm just thinking. Okay, Yashikov.